What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Another episode of Coffee with the Commish Dinger Tuesday edition. For those that are unfamiliar, FanDuel every week throughout the regular season in Major League Baseball, they run a promotion where if you bet $25 on a straight bet for a guy to hit a home run, then every time there's a home run hit in that game, you can get $5 in bonus bets. Last year, we gave out some leans. We messed around with it a little bit and had some success. I say we because I'm bringing back my guy Liam Picks Fights, aka rebranded every Tuesday now for the next 25 weeks as Liam Picks Dingers. Welcome back, dude.
It's a pleasure to be here, my brother. I'm not the biggest baseball head out there, but I love the market. I love trying to find winners, and especially when they're going to give you some free EV, like a promo like this on Dinger Tuesday, and they're going to give you some of that money back. Didn't get limited too bad. I saw that FanDuel's starting to crack down on this a little bit because that tells you the EV is really there, right? When you can get, potentially $10 free on average back on these bets, it really does a good job in terms of finding EV plays. And so they do a good job on their end, right? We're going to talk about it as we break down some of these games. FanDuel doesn't give you the best price on a lot of these guys, especially people that are most likely to hit a home run because of the promotion. But I still think there's some value to be had. And I think because there's so many games, if you pick your spots, if you use some additional factors, you could really find an edge.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And so basically, just to give you guys the rundown of how we're going to do this show, like Liam said, he's not the biggest baseball guy. He is an MMA, a combat sports savant. That is what he does, and that's what that brings in the big bucks for him. For me personally, I bet the MLB, I bet the NBA, the NFL. So I'll bring what Liam calls the ball and stick analysis to this. Well, we're going to research these guys right in front of you. It's not a promo that I recommend going crazy on. It's not a promo that I feel like anyone has to participate in. But if you guys, we know a lot of people like to participate in this, so we just want to give you guys some information that will hopefully make this a little bit more like informed risk taking rather than straight up buying lottery tickets and hoping for the best. So we'll share some information. If you guys have questions, more than happy to take them throughout the show. But yeah, man, let's get into it. You mentioned the prices, and the first game and the first guy that I think makes a lot of sense here. I should have bet earlier in the morning and I didn't, and now that line has run like crazy. But Salvador Perez in this Toronto and KC game was, I believe, as high as like plus 320 this morning. And then by the time I finished the article for Roto Grinders, he was down to plus 260. I'm going to share my screen. The one thing that you always want to look for in this Dinger Tuesday promotion is the wind. I think like the number one thing that you want to look at to give yourself the best chance to hit home run is the wind direction. If you have a game such as this one between Toronto and KC, where you can see wind blowing out towards left field about 20 miles an hour around first pitch, right there, you know that any ball in the air is going to get a handful of extra feet on it. In the case of Salvador Perez, I'll pull up FanGraphs here and we can take a look at his batted ball metrics as well. But Perez last year, out of 277 batters that had at least 300 trips to the plate, 300 plate appearances, Salvador Perez ranked 32nd in terms of home run rate. So this guy has a ton of pop when he's in the lineup. Today, facing a lefty, he absolutely killed left-handed pitching last year, had an 845 OPS and had 5 home runs against Southpaws, despite the fact that he only had 119 plate appearances. And I'm pulling it up right now for everyone. And you can see, so this was Salvador Perez. We'll go to FanGraphs 2022, and you can see against lefties last year, 5 home runs, only 119 plate appearances. Scroll down and we can look at some of his power metrics in the advanced section. You can see 845 OPS against lefties compared to 728 OPS against righties, about 31% better against lefties than he was against righties last season. So for me, Perez makes a lot of sense in this game. It checks a couple of factors. You have the wind direction. Any ball in the air, it's going to get a little bit extra oomph behind it. Jerry Lane calling balls and strikes in this one. Very, very tight strike zone. So he's going to force the opposing starting pitcher to come at him and put the ball in the strike zone. And on the other side of this, we have Chris Bubic. I'll pull up his baseball savant for people. One of the worst pitchers in Major League Baseball. Last season was really terrible against righties. Again, 424 FIP, 156 whip, allowed 12 home runs to right-handers. You can see on Savant, when you see this much blue, that's really good for the hitter and really bad if you're considering a wager on the pitcher in this case. So Salvador Perez would be my first look in this spot for these factors: the umpire, the wind, the pitching matchup, and then Perez also just has a ton of power in his bat. I know he's the favorite in this game by betting odds, but I think it's warranted. But Liam, what about from a market perspective? What are you looking at in this particular game? Does that make sense? Does it check out, or should people look elsewhere?
Yeah, there's a couple things to consider here. I mean, number one, I like to talk about EV betting, right? And it's not something that I think is critical for every bet that you place. Sometimes you have information that you could originate something, right? And you don't need EV on the market, but also the market is a lot smarter than you individually more often than not, right? So you like to take into account what we can learn from other sharp markets that are dealing the same prop. And in this case, a lot of other markets are showing strength to Salvador Perez as well. You look at a sharper domestic market like a Bet Rivers, they're at a plus 280. You look at Pinnacle Sportsbook, plus 226, one of the sharpest sportsbooks in the world. So lower than the odds you're getting on FanDuel. You're still getting some EV to Pinnacle from FanDuel. That being said, home run props, that are getting mushed down under 3-1, it's just a little bit harder to get value. One person I'll point to in this game that could be of interest as well is just Vladimir Guerrero. I know he's going to be a public play in all likelihood. He's actually seen some drop off as well. I believe he was over 4-1 this morning. Now he's about plus 350. But you look, he's actually about plus 268 on Pinnacle Sportsbook. A lot of other books are very sharp to this side as well. He's a dangerous guy with the bat in his hands, one of the best home run hitters in baseball. And at plus 350 on FanDuel, I think that's another potential value play for the Dinger Tuesday promotion in this game.
Completely agree. I wouldn't talk anyone off of Vladdy. When you're absolutely right. And this is, again, like we'll say it probably a million times throughout the show. Don't feel compelled to participate in this promotion. The reason that FanDuel does it is because they know that the vast majority of people will end up losing money over time. But it is a fun thing to do if you're looking for something. But if you're looking for guys to at least give you a chance, Vladdy definitely fits that bill, in my opinion. From the baseball perspective, you can see max exit velocity, 99th percentile last year, 96th percentile average exit velocity. So that's two boxes he checks. One, he can hit the ball just as hard as anyone, and he does it with consistency. 96th percentile average exit velocity, and then this hard hit percent right here means how often is he meeting the minimum criteria for a hard hit baseball when he's making contact. 94th percentile. So good bat speed. Vladdy tends to hit more balls on the ground than someone that you probably want to invest in on a regular basis in the home run market. But in this case, against a pretty shoddy opposing pitcher, Vladdy, he's got the bat speed. He's definitely got the power. And then again, the umpire checks out in this game and the wind direction as well. So he's got a few things going for him as well. I think overall, Liam, I think you and I are in agreement. This would be one of the games on the short list to target if you're only targeting like one or two games with this promo today.
Absolutely. You mentioned one of the reasons, weak pitcher, but also you've got a team with pretty good bats in Toronto. And there's actually a sharp line movement towards Toronto as well. I try and look at every factor that I can when I'm looking for some value here. So I do like to see that the team that I'm looking to get a player from them, they might be in a good situation to win the ball game, have some strength in the market. These are things I like to look at as well. And it was looking like a public side, Toronto, and the line wasn't moving the right direction. So I was a little bit concerned, right? I was sitting back. I haven't played anything on this game yet, but now I'm starting to see the line is moving back towards Toronto. Sharp line moves reported. So I'm going to be watching that game closely. I do think that Toronto Blue Jays hitters would be the play for Dinger Tuesday if you're going to get involved for that game.
Awesome. The second spot that I think also checks a lot of boxes if you're targeting this FanDuel Dinger Tuesday promotion is this game between the Atlanta Braves and the St. Louis Cardinals. Again, we're going to look at the wind. And I know it might sound crazy. It might sound like Commish, Liam, what are you guys doing? You're getting on here and you're just telling us which way the wind is blowing. Does it really matter that much? It matters a ton, especially when the wind is blowing out towards left field and you're betting on a right-handed batter. Austin Riley would be the second guy that I would target in this. My number one, Salvi Perez, and target that game between the Blue Jays and the Royals. If there's another option that you want to consider, I think the Braves and the Cardinals are second on that list for me. Within that game, Austin Riley is my option here. Go look at a Savant chart. We talked about some of the power metrics that you want your batter to check to give yourself an opportunity here beyond the environmental factors with the wind, you can see 98th percentile max exit velocity, so he can hit the ball as hard as anyone in the league. And then how consistently does he do that? 95th percentile in hard hit rate. Barrel percentage is really how often is he hitting the baseball in that optimal launch angle with the optimal authority in terms of exit velocity. 96th percentile, that's about as good as anyone in baseball will be. And then when you go and you look at Austin Riley's splits last season, despite having more than double the amount of plate appearances against right-handed pitching as he did against left-handed pitching, you can see 11 home runs for him against lefties. We go look at the splits. He absolutely slaughtered left-handed pitching last year. His OPS was over 200 points higher against left-handed pitching than it was against right-handed pitching. Far and away, like, I mean, he was up there in the top 5 in terms of runs created plus, pretty much every power metric, ISO, OPS, everything you can think of against left-handed pitching last year. Austin Riley, I think, is a really good bet in this spot. He gets Steven Matz, who in his career, 448 FIP, 129 whip against right-handed batters. Importantly, Steven Matz has given up 122 home runs in his career. 108 of those 122 have come against right-handed batters. So if there's someone who's hitting the ball out against Steven Matz tonight in this Atlanta Braves lineup, more than likely, I think it's going to be this guy, Austin Riley, or one of those other right-handed bats in the order. But I think Austin Riley gives you a great shot here.
I think it makes a ton of sense. And one thing I'll point to here is just it's a pretty tight market, right? You're looking at the best available price plus 370, worst available price plus 315 on OddsJam. So when you're talking about markets like this, a home run prop, something like this, the fluidity can be huge. You could see something in the 3s and something in the 6s. If somebody's not doing their homework, if a book is asleep at the wheel, not paying attention, there can be big disparities, a huge market width. The market is very tight on this market. And most of the sharper books are shading themselves. The only book that's putting themselves out there is Bet Rivers. But if you look at Bet Rivers, how they price out home run props overall, they don't like to give the best price on a lot of things. So more often than not, some of the more juiced options on other markets will actually be balanced out on a Bet Rivers market because they're not giving so much of that additional equity to other less likely players down the stretch. So I think that you've got a great spot here. You're noticing that a bunch of the Braves players are actually nerfed on FanDuel really, really bad. Cunha Jr. is like 65 cents under the market average and things. So I think that the book is aware that Atlanta is going to be a popular target, but I think over 3-1 on Riley, good number. So I like that.
Sweet. Anyone else that you have that you're targeting today? Any games in particular that you want to highlight for people?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the first game of the day, let me just double check. It's the Diamondbacks and the Padres. So this is one that I was digging into overnight because when you hear Padres, you think pretty good team. And then you think to yourself, man, Yu Darvish on the mound, he's a better pitcher, I would think, than Gallen. Just as a guy who's not a huge baseball head, watching some games last year, I was like, man, Yu Darvish gets some respect. He's got a pretty good win-loss record. But then Zach Gallen, on the other hand, he's on a bad team. He pitches all right, but he's really nothing that'll blow your hair back. But then I started digging through the numbers, and I realized, like, the guy who's given up more home runs is Yu Darvish. So I look towards the Arizona Diamondbacks here for my player. And let me pull up the prices because I don't want to give a price that has moved. Corbin Carroll, plus 900, guys, is still available on FanDuel. They're the only book that is pricing it at this number. You're seeing a plus 700 on DraftKings, plus 800 on Rivers, plus 635 on Fliff, plus 700 on MGM. So a lot of other books are showing more respect to this number. Earlier today, there was another 900 on the board. I can't remember where it was. That's been bet off the board seemingly. So I think that some strength on this number as well. Want to shout out my Lab VIP teammate, my man Prop God. Expects Corbin Carroll to get a hit today. He's had 3 hits and 5 plate appearances against Yu Darvish. He's a young guy, came in with a lot of hype. He's a young prospect, younger than myself, right? But just looking at the guy's numbers, 1 home run, 3 hits, and I believe a double as well on 5 plate appearances against Darvish. The guy's hitting the ball. He's hitting it well against Darvish in particular. Gets another opportunity today. I don't see why not. So Corbin Carroll plus 900 seems too wide to me. And that was the very first play that I locked in today. I thought the number was crazy, and I would be a little bit surprised if it closes plus 900 at game time.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting look. as well. Corbin Carroll obviously been making a lot of headlines with his speed. You can see one of the fastest guys in the majors last year, and then so far in 2023, he's been stealing a bunch of bags. Stole a pair off Noah Syndergaard the other day. If we go look at the weather in this one, we talk about when the wind's blowing out to left field, that's really good for right-handed hitters. We mentioned Salvador Perez. We mentioned Austin Riley. We mentioned Ronald Acuna Jr. and some of those other guys in that Braves and Cardinals game. At Petco today, we got the winds blowing out in a way that's going to be advantageous for left-handed batters, which if we go back and we look at Corbin Carroll here, bats lefty, had some success against right-handed pitching last year, not great against lefties. So sometimes when you see a market like this and Corbin Carroll's not a prodigious home run hitter against all types of pitching, but against righties, he's got some decent pop. Last season, 917 OPS, 263 ISO against right-handed pitching. Against lefties, would never take him to hit a home run. You can see the OPS drops here over 300 points. The ISO goes down almost 100 points. He was almost 100% more productive measured by runs created plus against right-handed pitching than he was against left-handed pitching. What's going on, Daniel? So in my mind, like Corbin Carroll, if you're looking to jump out of the gate this afternoon with a little bit of action, maybe late in your workday, and you just want something to get you through that last hour, Corbin Carroll makes a lot of sense. He's got the wind direction, which we talked about. He can hit the ball hard, and he's taking advantage of right-handed pitching here early in his career. So I think it checks out, especially when you're getting him at plus 900 and everywhere else. You're looking at guys like Salvi who are less than 3-1 and Austin Riley that are roughly 3-1. So if you can get more than triple the odds on a guy like Corbin Carroll, I think it makes sense, especially Darvish making his first start of the year as well. So might not be as sharp as we'll see him in June, July, once he really gets settled in.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with all of that. And the other thing I would mention is the guy hit 4 home runs in his rookie season. Can we expect improvement over time? I certainly don't think that that's something to rule out, especially when you're talking about a guy comes in with some hype. Then you're looking at, just how the market's moving is also a sign of strength. So this morning I sent in the Lab VIP plus 787. I think it was the market average. It's down to plus 747. It's continued to drop throughout the day. So FanDuel, you have to understand with a promotion like this, known names, known quantities, popular players are going to get a lot of the equity. The average consumer, the casual fan is going to say, who's a player I really know and like? You don't know and like a guy that started on the team last year and, he's barely just cracking it. So this is the kind of guy I think that may be undervalued at this point in his career. And down the road, maybe these opportunities won't be there. He'll be in the plus 650s. He'll be priced more appropriately. But I just think that this is a opportunity cost, where you're talking about a guy on 20% of his at-bats versus Darvish, he hit a home run, and he's being priced as like a 9-10% chance to do so. I don't know. Seems a little bit low for me.
Yeah, and you mentioned his low home run total from his rookie season in the big leagues. He didn't, like, a lot of people don't realize too, they might look at the back of his baseball card or go to ESPN.com or something like that and not realize that he spent the vast majority of last season in the minors, where you can see he had 5 home runs when he was at AAA against right-handed pitching, and then 14 in AA against right-handed pitching. Less power production consistent with against lefties, consistent with what we saw at the major league level. So there is some pop potential here. I think if there's any negative that we want to point out is that throughout Darvish's career, he has been a little bit more home run prone against right-handed batters than he has been against lefties. If we go investigate this a little bit further, we can go look at the batted ball metrics. And what checks out here is he typically does a better job of keeping the ball on the ground against or keeping the ball out of the air against left-handed batters than he does righties. You can see righties have a fly ball percentage last year, 5.6% higher than left-handed bats do. But 41%, that's still not like Darvish is not a ground ball maestro. So there's still an opportunity if Carroll gets one in the air, and especially going back here and looking at the wind direction, this is a wind that will favor left-handed batters in this game. So I don't hate that look at all, Liam. I think plus 900, if you're going for the promo, you might as well go big, right? If you're trying to have fun on Tuesdays.
Absolutely. The other thing I'll mention, guys, is just because this game is pretty close in proximity, save you the time if you didn't get a chance to do the research. There are 4 hitters that Darvish has given up home runs to that are in the game today. They are Corbin Carroll, 1 home run on 5 at-bats, Christian Walker, 2 home runs on 24 at-bats, Ketel Marte, 2 home runs on 28 at-bats, and Evan Longoria, 2 home runs on 30 at-bats. So just in terms of how many times it took him at bat to get the home run production going, our young guy, Corbin Carroll's been getting it done. So that's why I like the look. But there's a couple other options for you. And then on the other side, Gallen has given up home runs to Tatis, Juan Soto, Manny Machado, Trent Grisham, Cronenworth, and Campusano. So just a couple names to look out for. If FanDuel has the best price, those are some guys to consider.
Awesome. Any other games in particular that you want to highlight? I know so far, if you guys have just joined, Salvador Perez was an option in that Toronto KC game. Wind blown out pretty significantly to left field. Relatively poor starting pitching matchup, so it should breed some runs. Even if Salvi doesn't hit one, there should be at least a few that find their way over the outfield fence. Second game we took a look at was the Atlanta-St. Louis game. Similar winds, blown out to left field pretty strong. Also not very good pitching in that game. Some really good hitters on the other side of that matchup. And then we just finished talking about Corbin Carroll against Yu Darvish potentially having a long shot opportunity at plus 900 with the wind blowing out towards right field. Got a question here. How about Vlad in that Jays game? We touched on him as well. Vlad, he hits a lot more balls on the ground than I think a lot of people realize. So he's not typically a great home run target on a day-to-day basis. But in this particular matchup, I'll pull back up the weather report here. It's really anybody that is swinging the bat right-handed, I think, is going to give you a chance tonight against the lefties that are starting with Kikuchi and with Bubic in this game. You can see the winds at first pitch blowing out towards left field about 20-ish miles an hour. This is pretty substantial. Any ball that's in the air should gain 10, 15-ish feet compared to what it would in neutral wind. So I think that's a good spot. And again, even if Vladdy doesn't hit a home run in that game, there's tons of home run candidates with him, with Chapman, we can pull up the lineup in that game too. We can see who we got even on the Royals side. Franmil Reyes, another good candidate. Hunter Dozier, not a bad candidate. Like there's some guy, Bobby Wood Jr. Hits a lot of balls on the ground, but also another young guy with plenty of potential in his bat. So I think there's plenty of guys in that game that have home run potential. And then both starting pitchers have a long history of giving up way too many home runs, way too many base runners. So I think that would be a great game to target. And if you don't like Perez, like we recommended, or Liam likes Vladdy, I think there's a lot of people that like Vladdy, Matt Chapman. I probably wouldn't talk you off of any right-handed batter in that game.
Yeah, and for me, it just came down to the EV perspective, what you're trying to get on the return. Basically, you got to go $25 for the FanDuel Dinger Tuesday promotion. So if you're going to go with a bet like that, I'm normally trying to win $100 or so. That's the return that I'm normally looking for on these Dinger Tuesday plays. But oftentimes, it's just the best play that you want to take. So I think that you made a great case. I also just think that Vlad has a similar case. So it basically comes down to a point of preference. They're both plus EV. They both have good power metrics. They both have good opportunity against this pitcher. So it's really a matter of preference and whether you want to take a little bit more risk with Vlad, who might put a couple hard hit balls on the ground tonight, or if you want to get a little bit more of a likely outcome with your play. But, dude, I think that both of those are very good. I think people could get great opportunities to target either one of those. But I will say there's one other game I wanted to touch on. I got a real long shot for you that I think we could investigate for the people. And I'll see what you think of this one. You could call me crazy if you feel that way. But we've got, the Reds and the Chicago Cubs. And the play that I was looking at is Kevin Newman at plus 1,100, right? And Kevin Newman, not a huge historical home run hitter, but he does have a home run in this matchup against the pitcher in a previous meeting. And so just to see a plus 1,100, kind of stood out to me. And then I looked and there was a couple of stragglers, like a plus 1,200 and this and that. Then I checked back right now, a little bit closer to game time. This is all my research overnight, as well as a little bit of research earlier today. Then I checked back now, plus 1,100 now is as best as you can get. And FanDuel is one of the only books that has it still. A couple books under, the plus 1,000 range. So obviously we're talking about a long shot here. But when you're talking about a long shot, a guy that has the proof of concept, he's hit a home run off this pitcher before. That's something that I'm always going to look at.
Yeah, I think I just pulled up the wind here. The wind definitely not in anyone's favor at Great American tonight. But, we could pull up the
I think the humidity conditions and a couple other things might be favorable, but yeah, the wind definitely working against us.
Yeah, but I will say, as much as the wind is working against him, it's not as if any amount of wind is going to destroy someone's chances completely at Great American Ballpark. We can take a look the last 3 years. Great American has been the best home run park in baseball by a significant margin. You can see a 150 indexed score here, which is 26% better than the next most home run friendly venue in the 3 years that you can see here with the 3-year rolling windows. So Great American for me, like this wind, it's look at it, 8 miles an hour. That's not 20, 30 miles an hour. It's not hurricane force winds. If you get a piece of one, I think it has a shot. It just won't get any extra advantage today because of the wind. We can pull up Kevin Newman though. We can investigate his savant chart here and just give a little bit of a look for the people.
And I'm warning you, it's going to be greasy. It's going to be greasy.
Yeah, he max exit velocity. So this is not great. Worse than league average last season. Didn't have a ton of at bats, but you can see the year before that he did have a max exit velocity 63rd percentile. His average exit velocity 3rd percentile. So he doesn't run into balls often. But what this indicates here is that he has the potential to do it on a rare occasion, which could be a Tuesday in this particular case. If we go and we take a look at Kevin Newman and we can go investigate his FanGraphs chart as well to see in this matchup between Wisniewski and Sessa, does he have an opportunity here? Kevin Newman last season played 78 games for the Pittsburgh Pirates, had only 2 home runs, but is a high contact guy. You can see throughout his career, 11.8% K rate, meaning he's going to put the bat on the ball. That doesn't always portend to hard contact. It doesn't always mean it's going over the left field wall, but he will give you a shot in that case. We could go take a look at here. So we got Newman going against Wisniewski. I was just checking the spelling on that.
So shout out Pat Kappa. Forget about it for the FanDuel Dinger Tuesday promotion. If you are going to play it, take it at plus 800 on PointsBet, Resorts World, those kind of books, because that's an absurd number.
Yeah, I'm looking at.
Please continue though, Commish.
No, I was looking at Wisniewski last year. You can see not a huge sample size. 85 batters faced against righties, 47 against lefties. Worth noting that all 3 of the home runs he did give up were against right-handed batters. You can see Kevin Newman is a right-handed batter here. If we go investigate further, we can go look at the power metrics to see did this hold consistent. Right-handed batters so he was far less effective in a small sample size last year against righties than he was against lefties. You can see this holds true with pretty much everything across the board. Righties had a 221 batting average against him. Lefties only 159 batting average. FIP was much higher. Go to the batted ball metrics. Righties got the ball in the air slightly more frequently against Wisniewski than lefties did. Not a huge difference here, but worth noting. So what'd you say the odds on that were? Plus 800? Something like that?
Plus 1,800.
1,800. Okay. Plus
1,800. Wild. I thought that was a little bit wild. But now, granted, that does mean that the EV is not there on the plus 1,100. So for a Dinger Tuesday perspective, I'm going to see if there's anybody else that stood out to me in this game. Nothing great. Vosler has pretty decent EV at plus 500 on FanDuel, but I didn't investigate that one deep enough to even have a strong opinion. But Vosler does look like one of the better EV plays on the Cubs and Reds game in line. You know what's interesting, though? You mentioned the name Matt Chapman on the Blue Jays game as well. And I happen to scroll past. I have multiple web pages pulled up, and he's insanely plus EV on FanDuel right now. The market average is plus 359. Pinnacle's holding plus 329, and it's plus 420 on FanDuel for Chapman. So if he has a good matchup in terms of pitching, I think that's another great potential look on that Blue Jays game.
Yeah, I think
3 of them.
You want to add a fourth? Our guy Jay Jones, who's been on a heater as well in the Lab VIP, he likes Bo Bichette tonight, and I'm not talking you off of that. I truly mean it. Any right-handed batter in that game tonight, I think, has a legitimate opportunity to get one out against either way, against Bubic or against Kikuchi. I think both bullpens are vulnerable as well to the long ball. So whether it's Bichette, Chapman, Vladdy, Salvi, whoever you want to take in this game, I think we're going to see some home runs in this spot. We had we had a listener say earlier that they think either like whoever you go with, that the target for tonight's FanDuel Dinger promo is that Royals and Blue Jays game. And I could not agree more. That is number 1 on my list. Number 2 on my list is that Atlanta St. Louis game. I think after that, you got to find something in particular with the matchup that you like. But those top 2 games in KC and in St. Louis have some incredibly favorable weather conditions that make all of them a relatively good bet for the promo. Liam, we got a question from Pat Kappa. Anybody that we like in the Mets Brewers game? I think you were taking a look at that a little bit ago.
I was going to say this was the last one that we discussed before getting on the air, I think. And listen, it's not the greatest play in terms of EV, but the one that I was liking is William Contreras. Okay, the market average is plus 465, and you're looking at a plus 450 on FanDuel. So you're really not doing great to the market metrics, but I think a lot of the other things are there to like about Contreras in the matchup. If we could pull up some of his information, because I don't remember all this stuff too well, but I just remember looking and saying, man, this guy's got a good matchup today.
Yeah, I think everything aside from the fact that he's facing Max Scherzer is...
Oh, that's the problem. He's got great metrics and he's facing Scherzer, but he's 2 of 4 against Scherzer. Now you brought it all back to me when you mentioned that. So 2 hits on 4 at-bats against Scherzer. Not a lot of people are hitting 500 against him. Obviously, Scherzer's very tough, but he also throws the ball hard. I think that when you look at a guy who's hitting this hard at plus 450, and you give the fact that against this particular pitcher, it's not like he's been getting blown out of the water. There's a lot of guys who look at Scherzer, he's struck him out 6 times, right? It's like that's not the case with Contreras. He's competing in these at-bats, so that's what I liked about him. But yeah, it's no prize picking against Scherzer, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, but the thing that people forget about this promo also is the fact that Scherzer will not pitch the whole game. Contreras will have at least 1 at-bat, maybe 2 at-bats against someone not named Max Scherzer in this spot. And also, even the best pitchers in the league, typically guys who throw as hard as Scherzer do, they get the harder it's coming in, the harder it's going out sometimes. And with a guy like Contreras, and this really goes for any hitter that you're investigating for Dinger Tuesday, when you're looking at their savant, there's some really easy shorthand metrics that can give you a good idea of like, is this someone that may be worth targeting for this promo or not? You want to look at max exit velocity. What this indicates is this is the hardest that guy has hit a baseball in a given season. And we're looking at 2022 metrics right now because it's a much larger sample size. You can see Contreras, 97th percentile. The closer that is to 100, the better the number. So checks the box there. You look at hard hit percentage and average exit velocity. These are indicators of how hard someone is hitting it on average. Both of those look good in this spot, 76th percentile or better. And then barrel percentage is arguably the most important metric here. What barrel percentage is, and we can actually just look this up on the air. Barrel definition MLB, just so we can give people a really strict definition here. What this means is like a barrel is the optimal angle and exit velocity to hit a home run. So you can see identifying the barrel zone here. You have to have a certain launch angle that will get the ball in the air, but not too high in the air that the ball will come down before it has an opportunity to go over the outfield wall. And then in terms of exit velocity, you have to hit the baseball hard enough, obviously, so that way if it goes in the air, that it just doesn't come right back down the way a pop-up would. William Contreras, 91st percentile in barrel percentage. When he makes contact, and it's not often, you can see that he swings and misses a lot, terrible K percentage. Whiff percentage is how often he's swinging and missing at pitches. Both of these things are terrible. And going against a guy like Scherzer, there is an opportunity that Contreras whiffs completely and doesn't even put a ball in play tonight. But if he does put a ball in play, he has an optimal swing path to get the ball in the air, and he hits the ball pretty damn hard. Those two things at least give him a shot. So, Liam, remind me again, what were the odds on that for Contreras?
Plus 450.
Plus 450. So, not my favorite play of the day, especially when you look at some of the other weather conditions that we've talked about in places like Kansas City and St. Louis. But if you're going for a guy in this particular game, I think plus 450 on Contreras, it's not the worst bet in the world. He definitely has the metrics that at least give you a shot, which I think at minimum is what you want for a promotion like this.
Absolutely. And yeah, I was trying to give an answer for our guy, Pat Kappa, who asked if we have anybody in that game. just to be clear, guys, have not parted ways with my money on that game. I did bet on Corbin Carroll, obviously, but not all of these dinger, ideas end up getting onto the board by the end of the day. We're just trying to put you guys in a position to succeed, try and give you some good information as well. But somebody did ask about Stanton or Judge, and in the overnights, there was 2 plays that I thought really stood out to me overnight. And Aaron Judge was one of them, right? I just think that in this spot, the market is basically telling me he's going to hit a home run. It doesn't mean that that's going to happen, every time, but just the market expects an Aaron Judge home run tonight as being very, very likely. The market width is extremely tight. Nobody's offering you better than plus 260 on this guy to hit a home run. And to your point, JGL, you ask about Stanton, another stud for the Yankees. He's being dealt at over 3-1 in several books, right? So right now, I think that the book is basically saying, like, come on, try out Stanton, go for somebody else. Don't go to Judge. He's already nerfed. Don't hit that plus 235. I think the plus 235 is going to cash. I think Judge is going to hit a home run, maybe 2 of them.
I'm looking at Matt Strahm. I was listening to you, but I was pulling up the numbers for Strahm. This was last season, not a huge sample size, but 4 home runs given up against right-handed batters in only 136 plate appearances. That's not very good. It's not the worst pitcher in the league in terms of giving up the long ball, but not very good. And then was looking back at his career numbers as well, and has done a pretty poor job keeping the ball in the park overall. We can go look at his advanced numbers here, giving up over a home run per 9 innings by a pretty substantial margin. We can go look at the batted ball metrics, and righties do a much better job compared to lefties getting the ball in the air against Strahm, at least throughout the course of his career. So if you're targeting guys against Strahm in this game, and I don't know how long Strahm's going to last, both for run prevention reasons and for pitch count reasons, because he appeared in the bullpen a few days ago for the Phillies. But for as long as he's out there, right-handed batters are going to have a decent shot to get that ball in the air. This is another situation where the wind is not crazy favorable, but Yankee Stadium, they have little league dimensions. The youth team that I go coach, and we have practice tonight. The fences are, I'm not even kidding you, down the lines, pretty much the same distance as they are at Yankee Stadium. So when you're talking about guys like Stanton and you're talking about guys like Judge for a promo like this, always gives you a shot. I think the difference is when you're betting on a game where there's not really favorable environmental conditions in terms of weather, you really need Judge or Stanton to get the job done to get your money back, because I don't think there's going to be 5 home runs in this game. I think there's probably going to be 2 or 3, even at Yankee Stadium. So you're probably going to need Judge or Stanton to get the job done, compared to if we go and we look at the – sorry if I'm making people dizzy. I went the wrong way here. But if we go look at the Toronto KC game here, this is a spot where, like, if you bet on Chapman or you bet on Vlad or you bet on whoever else, yeah, it would be really nice if that particular bet cashed. But even if it doesn't, there's an opportunity that you get your full.
You get bailed out.
Yeah.
I feel that. I do feel that. And I think our guy JGL makes a good point here. Stanton is down to plus 260 on FanDuel, but you got to remember, Stanton, another public player, another popular player, and FanDuel's running this promotion today. What game do you think is going to get a lot of attention every time that it's played? A New York Yankee game. I'm not even a Yankee fan. I have the hat, right? So you understand, New York, big deal. I think that for this game in particular, though, I don't know, man. Just gut feeling. Aaron Judge going yard. He's 0-1 against this pitcher with a strikeout. So I know my man's coming in fired up today. He's going to try and make him pay. I'm thinking it's the first run through the order. My man just sends that yard. So I think Aaron Judge is going to make the card. The 2 plays that I looked at overnight, Corbin Carroll, Aaron Judge.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Had Daniel saying loves runs in the Royals game. The offense spiked last season at home with totals over 9. Add Kikuchi, and he's salivating. Daniel, I 100% agree with you. I was very, very tired last night when I was capping tonight's slate, and the lines first dropped, and I saw 9.5 on this Toronto KC game, and a little free VIP action for you guys. That was the first play that I locked in today, and it is so far my biggest bet of the day. So I'm with you. I'm expecting runs in that game. I think the pitching matchup is absolutely horrific. I think both offenses are at least capable. And then you add in the weather that we talked about with those significant winds blowing out towards left field. It's a situation where I really have no idea how this game doesn't get to at least 7 or 8 runs. I think there should be a ton of hard contact. If we can just get a few balls up in the air, there should be enough traffic on the bases to make pitchers pay in those situations. So I think there's going to be a ton of runs scored here. Could not agree more.
I love it. I don't have a super strong opinion on that total, but if my guy Commish likes it, if the Sharp chat likes it, I'm rolling with it.
Appreciate it. And then we got Jay Jones also saying Dansby Swanson, that bat is scorching. I don't know if he's as hot as Jones is, though. I think Jones went like 8-1 the last couple of days over in the labs. There's levels to this scorching Jones, and I think you're higher than Dansby Swanson is at the moment. Do you have any other spots that you want to target, Liam? Otherwise, I just have like a couple other more general pieces of advice for the community before we get out of here.
Sure. I mean, from a non-Dinger Tuesday perspective, one thing that we could touch on just that I thought was relevant to the MLB discussion for today, Sandy Alcantara, basically pretty slow start on the mound. I believe it was 3:30, came out, first game of the year, 2 strikeouts, more walks than that. I think double the amount of walks. So just not a great performance from him. And the Marlins have started out really, really poorly as well. So I was seeing that this K prop was just it struck me, right? Because you're seeing like plus 100 now on some books for the over 6.5. This guy did not clear over 6.5 one time last April. And he started off really slow in his first game of the year. So the things that are a little bit tricky about the game are that Miami, despite losing a bunch of games, playing a pretty decent team, they are favored here. But I just have a weird gut feeling about this that Sandy's probably not going to come through based on the look at the overnight market. So at first I was interested. I was like, man, a bunch of books are pricing this juice to the over, but I think slowly but steadily that number's been coming down. And, I think it's either a Sandy revenge game narrative where he comes out and smokes it. But what I noticed is the guy is just much better at home, right? He's much better at home. And that's one thing that going to be interesting to see if he can kind of find his old form. Just a slow start for him. So just something I wanted to note coming out of the gate. I think it might be a trap line for people. Plus 100, Sandy Alcantara over 6.5. It caught my attention, but then I did my due diligence, a little bit of deeper digging, and he was hitting like 4, 5, 6 as like his maxes in April last year. But then by midseason, he had 6 games, I think, where he was over 10 strikeouts in a game. So Sandy kind of picks up steam as he goes along.
Yeah, interesting point. I do think if you don't think there's market strength in Miami tonight, I think the over could be a decent look in that game. I'll just shamelessly plug our VIP really quick. Kenta Maeda making his first start tonight in almost 2 years. He went under the knife, had surgery. Beat writers here, we have him for every single team in Major League Baseball, got him for basketball, football as well. The Twins, they tweeted this out during the preseason, and it got retweeted out again today, but his command was really wonky during spring training. This is not uncommon for a guy coming back from a major surgery. Usually the command, feel for the baseball, that's the last thing that will come back for a guy. His walk prop opened up last night at over under 1.5. And immediately I was like, that makes absolutely no sense for a guy who had a major surgery, has been walking people almost every single inning throughout spring training, which is not a perfect indicator of how things will translate to the regular season. But command is usually one of the metrics that I pay more attention to in spring training compared to ERA and other stuff. Command is something that every pitcher will be trying to work on before the games count for real. The fact that Maeda was not able to command his pitches at all during spring training is worrisome to me. Opened at over under 1.5 at minus 115. I went to research it a little bit more. I checked our beat writers channel. I came back. It was at minus 125. I just checked the line on DK right now. It's all the way to minus 190. So I was going to recommend it as a straight. I can't really recommend it as a straight at that price, but I do think if you need a parlay piece, that's something to monitor. It's also something that we might get that prop again at 1.5, 5 or 6 days from now when he takes them out again. Be ready for it. That might be a line that's worth waiting up and getting it right when it opens, because I'm not the only person, obviously, that found this information and took some action with it. For a number to move that much, there's a lot of people betting the over right there. And even though Miami doesn't walk a ton, I think that makes sense. So if you don't think Sandy's going to be great tonight, I don't think Kenta Maeda is going to be great tonight. That total, I believe, is only at 7 runs. That could be an opportunity to take an over and maybe not have to wait very long.
I do like that, the sound of that. The one thing I'll say though is there doesn't seem to be a ton of strength in the home run market. The one player that I'm seeing with some equity is Joey Gallo, plus 470 on FanDuel. That's the best number in the market. Plus 430 you're looking at as the market average here. Pinnacle's down to plus 400. There's not really a lot of great EV plays in the game. Garrett Cooper is the only other one that's standing out as a good price on FanDuel. So just a couple guys to keep in mind there in the spirit of Dinger Tuesday because they're being, given a good price on FanDuel where you can get some EV from the promotion. And if my guy Commish is right, and maybe these two starting pitchers who are pretty good, but maybe not in their best form right now, maybe we start to see some more runs and some more opportunities open up when you get relief pitching, early on in the game. So I think that's something to keep in mind there. And, especially in that 4-1 type range, I do like that price on Gallo.
Yeah, and I think one reason that you might not be seeing a ton of strength in the home run market is Lone Depot has typically not been a great home run park. So when there are games at Lone Depot, it's typically just not a great game to target for this promo. And this is
because Sandy's striking out 6.8 batters at Lone Depot last year.
And most of the games there are played indoors. You can see last 3 years, they're 23rd out of 30 parks in terms of park factor for home run value here. And this ties into the last point I was going to make here is when you're doing this Dinger Tuesday promo, if you do choose to participate, which again, Liam and I don't recommend that you do it necessarily if you're trying to make money. It's something that is a fun promo. It's a way to root for a home run and maybe get a little bit of EV action if you have the right approach. Go ahead, Liam.
Well, I could say it's certainly not EV to bet every game. It's definitely not EV to do that. However, I do think that you can be a person that is trying to be a profitable sports bettor and bet the Dinger Tuesday props. No going in that eventually they will limit you if you keep doing well at this. I've seen it happen to a couple people that have spent more time betting dingers, but also just keep in mind, there's never a reason to force action on a game for any reason, right? But if they've got the best number and they're offering a plus EV promotion and I would have considered playing it otherwise, well, then now it's a no-brainer, right? But if those other factors aren't met, I don't just have to say, well, it's Dinger Tuesday, so got to fire off $200 worth of home run bets. It's like, well, no, I could go out there and be a lot more selective, but maybe pick 2 or 3 that I really like, or maybe just one that I love, and hopefully I get the free promo back. Hopefully there's 5 home runs in the game, and if not, then it's a small outlay for a big potential return. But that's how you have to, approach it, just logically, strategically. You don't want to just fire away at every game on the board because, like you mentioned, some of them are going to have great pitchers where maybe it's just not going to happen tonight. A lot of strikeouts, people aren't going to get an opportunity. Or maybe the ball's dead. It's going to be a bad environment for hitting baseballs. Okay, no problem. The more we know going in, the more relevant information we can consider, better chance we have to win. So for all these things, only take it if it's going to put you in a better EV situation. But there's still opportunities out there. You just got to be selective. You got to parse through it a little bit. Maybe the most popular player on the board, I can't get the plus EV look today, but maybe there's somebody that people aren't expecting that could come through for me.
All great information. Liam, if you guys ever need betting advice, if you need advice about the markets, definitely if you need advice about UFC, Liam is the guy to go to. He has his own YouTube channel that he does great work on every single week. Highly recommend his stuff. We work together over in the lab. Liam was one of the guys who got me into sports betting and really helped me apply what I knew about sports into betting specific relevant information and being able to provide that for people. So always got good things to say about Liam. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing if not for Liam. And I'm constantly calling him and asking him for his thoughts on things. So that's why, even though Liam isn't the baseball guy, he's definitely the market guy, and he's definitely the brains guy who can help research these things and help point us in the right direction. So always appreciate you jumping on, man. And obviously always welcome back anytime. The point that I think we can end with here is, if you are betting these games strictly for some fun and you want to just throw a wager out there, and you're not going to put in an hour of research to try to figure out who's an EV guy or stuff like that, the factors that you want to look at: wind. So we mentioned Corbin Carroll, nice breeze blowing out towards right field for him. A left-handed batter will benefit from this. We talked about the Blue Jays and the Royals game. We talked about all the right-handed batters, strong wind blowing out to left field. what this does is guys who hit the ball in the air, it's going to give them an opportunity. So just to reiterate, if you just joined us, you want to look at the wind first and foremost. If the wind is against you, that is a problematic thing when you're trying to hit the ball in the air to win a promo. The other thing to mention here is places like Milwaukee, where you play inside, don't go to a weather page like this and be like, oh man, I can't bet in Milwaukee tonight. The wind has no impact if that game is indoors. So Milwaukee, Texas will usually have the roof open. So this is a little deceiving if the wind looks like it's blown out to left field. It's not. If the roof is closed, you have to wait for confirmation on that. Houston, another spot where the roof is almost always closed. So stuff like that. The wind is very important, but make sure when you're looking at wind, you're looking at stadiums that are going to have games played in the outdoors. Another thing that will give you a fighting chance, and this is why I think a lot of us really like this Toronto KC game tonight, is you have the great wind going out to left field. You also have an umpire who is going to make these starting pitchers bring the ball into the strike zone. Jerry Lane, one of the most hitter-friendly umpires in the league, 19.6% lifetime K percentage here. We're looking at Swish Analytics. What this means is you're not going to get a bunch of borderline called strikes on the outside or inside part of the plate. Pitchers are going to have to throw the ball in the strike zone, which of course, the more hittable pitches that hitters have, the more potential damage that they can do. So this is another metric to look at here. And then the third spot obviously is going and actually looking at these guys' savant charts. So like we brought up William Contreras as a potential option in that Milwaukee and New York game. You can see barrel percentage, average exit velocity, max exit velocity, hard hit percentage. Those are really the four metrics that you want to look at if you're going to Savant for just some quick data and you want to fire without spending an hour on it. If you see a lot of dark red in these four metrics, it's a good sign. If the opposing starting pitcher sucks, that's a good sign. If you have an umpire that's going to favor the hitters, that's a good sign. And if you have weather that is going to favor the hitters in this spot as well, also a good sign. If you have the rare occurrence where you have all five of those things going on, like we do in this Toronto KC game today, where the weather is great, the umpire is hitter friendly, the starting pitchers suck, and the offense is good, well, I think, like Liam said, there is potentially money to be made in a game like that.
Absolutely, my man. You just crushed that, hit all your bases there. And, there's basically just two things that I'll leave you with, right? Which is Commish just gave you basically a blueprint. What's the relevant information that you need to take in order to try and come up with a solid opinion on these things? And the other thing I would add is the market, right? So in addition to those things, then leverage the market, which has a lot of other people doing a lot of the same things, but they may have access to information that you don't have. And that will be priced in, whether you know it or not. So that's something that you always want to be a little bit cognizant of. Why would a sharp book drop this number down a dollar below everywhere else? Maybe they have some information about this guy. He just hit 5 home runs in batting practice and he's never looked better. It's like, you don't know what information you don't know. So trust the market a little bit as well. Make sure you do your due diligence. For example, just since we've been talking, Kevin Newman went from 18-1 to 16-1, right? Because it was a bad number. It was a stupid number. I told you it was a stupid number. It's gone. It's never going to come back again. It won't exist. So whether it hits or not, it's a numbers game, right? And if everyone else says the number should be this, everyone else, and then you say the number should be that, it's like, well, you either have some inside information or you better have a damn good reason. Otherwise, you're going to get killed. You're going to get your number hit off the board. And that's exactly what happened in this case. So that's something to look out for, guys. The dilution effect. I mentioned this on my Twitter, at Liam Picks Fights. This is the thing I want to close out with here, is just if you take in a bunch of bad information, it will actually limit your ability to make sense of good information that you take in. So try and simplify your process. Find the things that really matter. What really matters to this decision I'm going to make, and stress that information. Take that information really deep into account. That's how you're going to put yourself in a position to win. Whether you're betting on Dinger Tuesday, whether you're betting on NBA player props, whether you're betting on the Ultimate Fighting Championship, doesn't matter. If you take those principles that Commish mentioned into account, you find out what's the relevant information, you take that in, that's what you need to do to win. So good information wins. It's an information business as much as anything else. So God bless you all. Thank you guys for spending the time with us. I truly appreciate it. You can find all my work, all my teammates' work, Lab VIP. One thing I want to just plug on the way out here, guys, Loaded Bases, just been printing money. They have been on fire with their leans, and they've been really breaking down the game for people that might not understand it. If you're looking to get into MLB capping, it's not for the faint of heart. It's not something you pick up in a day. I know my limitations. I surround myself with very smart people like the commish that know the game inside and out. And then I use my market analytics to try and put myself in a position to succeed. That's what you got to do. Your network is your net worth. So shout out to the Lab VIP. Shout out to my guy Commish. Shout out to the Loaded Bases crew. A lot of great people, individuals giving you winning information and trying to put you in a position to succeed.
Appreciate the kind words, man. You definitely need a tribe to succeed in this space, especially a sport like baseball. There's roughly 15 games a day. It's impossible to cap all of it. It's impossible to see all that information, to understand what to do with all that information. It's good to have someone like Liam who I can call and say, I need the market information on this. And he's available to do that. Having other people that pay more attention to K props or more attention to hitting props. And it allows you to focus on what you're really good at and then share information. So I agree with you, Liam. Definitely expand your network as much as you can. Find some people that are good collaborators, good thought partners for this stuff. And yeah, don't consume bad information. Stop watching ESPN when you wake up in the morning. No disrespect, but make sure that the information that you're consuming makes sense and is
propaganda. That's propaganda.
But yeah, man, Liam, really appreciate you joining. Super sharp information as always, giving the people great stuff. I will just say every Sunday we're doing Sunday Night Spaces on this YouTube channel, also streaming it to Twitter, Facebook, and a couple other places. Basically, what we do, we take the week of baseball, we break it down, share some key takeaways for the first 30 minutes, and then the next 30 minutes, we actually just break down right in front of you the Sunday Night Baseball game. Last week, our guy Sosa had over 1.5 total bases on Trey Turner, and that took all but one at bat in the game for that to cash. Also had a couple other looks in that game cash as well from Prop and Jones and MLB Dream. So loaded bases, like Liam said, Sunday Night Spaces on here. Liam's got a podcast on his YouTube channel. So if you're betting fights, I don't care if you don't know anything about the UFC like me, still go check it out, or at least find a way to get the plays in the Lab VIP or somewhere, because Liam has made me a ton of money on something that I don't know anything about, and I could not be more grateful. So check that stuff out. But guys, really appreciate you tuning in. We're going to get out of here. Best of luck on all your dingers if you're participating in the promo today. If not, thanks for tuning in anyway. Hopefully you learned something, maybe picked up on a couple of the free VIP plays that we gave out. We'll be back doing more content for you guys throughout the season, though. Please just like, share, subscribe, get the good word out there, and we'll keep coming back and putting in the research for you guys. All right. See you, everyone.